the previous 2 years. So the editorial policy, they have decided to go for any of the editorial policy, any of the editor wants to increase the impact factor of a journal. So they have decided, they have kept, because it's an arithmetic calculation part, so they have decided to increase the impact factor. For that, the editorial policy, they have set some editorial policies. Some of the, though they are not legitimate one, but it is not, in the meantime, we cannot say them as a wrong also. So usually what happens, if the journal, if the article is good, then the number of citations is going to be increased, because the more number of the students and more number of researchers are going to refer that, and they are going to increase the citation. Sometimes what happens, though the what we call though there are some journals intentionally wants to increase the citations of a particular uh, uh, what we call, when you are submitting an article to a journal, they will ask you to go do some of the circles so that they can have the increasing in the number of citations. So with regard to that, some of the editorial policy, again I would like to repeat that, though this is not legitimate, meanwhile it is not wrong also. It's their strategy to increase the citations. So what happens? Increasing the citation results in the increasing of impact factor. So here we have the 3 points which are going to consider the increasing the impact factor, which are set by the editorial policies. The first one is, the always most of the journals will seek the authors to submit a review articles. So you already know the review articles are the cumulative informations of the work which has been already done in the previous years. So what you are going to do when you are writing a review article, so when we are writing a review article, we are going to consider the previous around the 10 years or 15 years research data, and by collecting all the research data of the 15 years, and we are cumulatively preparing a separate article. So here I already told you that a review article is not the wet lab work, which is not the results of the experimental results. So what happens? The review articles will contain the information of the previous 10 to 15 years information. So what happens if you publish, someone of you publish a review article tomorrow? If I come to start work, study that, what happens? I'm going to get the most of the important findings of the 15 years in a single article in the form of a review. So what happens? Most of the researchers, the successor researcher will start to cite, that successor researchers are going to refer the article which is being published by you, which contains the 15 years or 10 years information. So what happens? There will be a, simultaneously there will be increasing the number of citations. One strategy. The another strategy is that most of the journals will ask the experts. For example, I am the expert in the plant biotechnology. They will send a request to write an article. So what happens? Because I'm already pioneer, I'm already expert in the plant biotechnology. If I submit an article in the good old journal, then what happens? The number of successors, the number of persons who are going to read my articles are usually big, because I'm already pioneer in that. I'm already excellent in that. So what happens? Whatever I'm going to write it on a plant biotechnology, the number of followers will be there more in that. So because of my academic followers, then they will start citing my articles. Because of that, they have one more strategy, is that invitation only. So the editorial office will ask some of the experts, some of the pioneers, to write an articles to their journal. So what happens? The results in that, because of that, the next successor, the next junior scientist or juniors or research scholars will start referring the expert articles. So then we are going to see the increasing the number of citations. The third one is coercive citations. So this is what completely unacceptable matter. This is what already happened with me also, because when I'm submitting an articles to the a journal in a spring around, which is having 2.2 or 2.3 impact factor, after accepting, they have sent a mail of 4 articles which have been published in the particular journal. I will tell you the name also, the journal name also. I have submitted an article to Journal of Cluster Science, which is having 2.2 or 2.3 impact factor. So that particular journal, when they have completely accepted my article, and they have sent with a minor correction, that they have sent the 4 articles which have been published previously in the same Journal of Cluster Science, to cite those, to refer those. So I have to refer all those 4 articles, and I have to resubmit them. Then only they are going to publish it. So what happens? Once I refer all those papers, then they are going to have 4 citations in their journal. The 4 articles have been cited. So they have got four citations also along with my article. So this is what we call it as a coercive citation. So this is going to inflate the journal's impact factor. So these are the three editorial policies which have been set, though it is not, though it is not legal, but it is, meanwhile it is not never be said as a wrong also, because they have some others, they own strategies to increase the impact factor. Again, it's been doing for the again increasing the impact factor also. Is that clear, guys? Is that clear, guys?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now coming to the last point of the impact factor, one must know these five things to understand what actually the five in the impact factor. So impact factor, nothing but there are most number of articles. Let us take, we have got 1,000 journals in Telco. So those 1,000 journals, when you open them, when you Google it their ISSN number or a journal name, you are going to see the impact factor. There will be fooled by just by seeing the impact factor. To get a genuine or to know whether it is the impact factor is true or a false or a, just like they are given randomly, to check that one, you need to know the Web of Science. The Web of Science is the cumulative citation providing data. So it is going to give you the research quality, journal quality, author quality information in the form of accumulative information. So the journals which are indexing, the journals which have been considered as a part of a Web of Science are the only journals will have the genuine impact factor. So not all the journals, they may show in their dashboard that impact factor is there. But to check whether the impact factor is genuine or not, you need to go for whether the particular journal in which you are going to publish the article, whether it is having the impact factor, whether that impact factor is the genuine one or just given by the journal name itself. That we have to check. Then second one is a journal has only one impact factor. You just go and check in any database. You may go and check in a Web of Science. You may check it in a Scopus. You may check it in a SJR. You may check it in a Site Score. You may check it in SNIP. So there are n number of platforms. Even the Med Science Center, MEDSCI. So this is also again the information providing database which will give you the impact factor. So in any possibility, in any platform, the impact factor of a journal will be only one of that particular year. In the second year, it may again inflate, it may increase or it may decrease. But the impact factor is when again calculated based on the 2 years in 2 year citations. So in the 2017, what is the impact factor? Just because of 2015 and 16. So in the 2018, again, it is just because of the 2 years impact, the 2 year citation. And the impact factor of a journal will not be considered just by seeing alone the journal, because what happens, so for example, let us take nowadays the science articles, the science academic articles are giving more importance. So for example, let us take the Nature is again a multidisciplinary journal which is having the highest impact factor. But you just go after completion of my class, you just go and Google it. You are going to see the most number of science related articles, not the social science related articles, not the art related articles, not the fine art related articles, not the management related articles. Only the recent advancement being carried out in the science academics are the only articles you are going to see in the Nature. So what happens? So when you see that, then the science is the only subject, science is the only discipline is having any importance. It doesn't mean it means that the arts and the fine arts and the managements are not having any importance. It's not like that. Each and every field, each and every specialization are having its own importance. So for the impact factor of a journal cannot be considered just by seeing the journal name or a journal itself. You must consider the impact factor among your discipline. So you should not compare with the arts with the science, science with the commerce, commerce with the management, management with the fine art, fine art with the engineering, engineering with the medical. Okay, na? And impact factors may vary across the disciplines. Again, that's what I told you, because in the science field, the number of research are going on a more number. There are many persons are working in a laboratory. For example, I'm working on a plant biotechnology in Shanbaso University. Someone is working in a plant biotechnology in a Gulbarga University. Someone is working in a plant biotech in a different university. So what happens? Finally, we are coming in a single platform and we are going to publish number of articles. And either if I publish an article, Gulbarga University fellow will recognize, will cite that, and central university fellow will recognize and will cite it. But in case of arts and all those things, the citations and the research are going very normal, less in number. Again, I cannot say it is not, they are not having any opportunity. They are having a lot of opportunity. They can do in a better way. But the thing is that the chances of a citation, the chances of the impact factor are going to be very less in the non-science or non-technology fields. So the science, usually the science or a technology related, one second. Okay. So what happens? The science related or engineering related or medical related disciplines are having more importance. So because of that, more important nothing but they are getting more number of citations. Because of that, we are going to see the high increasing this impact factor. Similarly, equal importance has been given for the fine art or management, all those things, but the number of citations are going to be very less. Because of that, the impact factor is going to be very less. Sometimes what happens, some of the most important pioneer journals will look forward for the 5-year impact factor. But so as we already said that annually we are going to see the inflation in the number in the impact factor. Some journals will ask you to check the last 5-year impact factor. So that's why, because in the first year, for example, after the start of once the journal started in the they started after the now the particular journal what I'm talking about, it started 10 years back. And in the 11th year, it may be having 1.7. In the 12th year, it may be having 4. And in the 13th year, it may be having only 1.2. In the 14th year, it may be having 5. And because the number of citations are increasing, decreasing every year. So what is happening? The impact factor of that particular journal is again increasing and decreasing. So such inflation should not happen. The consistency of a journal must be maintained. It doesn't mean that the editors has to maintain the scope and the quality of articles that are going to be published. So every year to prove, they have to prove themselves in such a way that they are going to publish an articles which are more citable, more readable, more accessible. Right? This is what with regard to the 5 things about the impact factor. Is that clear, guys? Am I going first? You people have to respond to me because I will not come to know whether you people are audible, you people are in the class or not. They cannot see this.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Is that class getting bored? Heavy ಆಗ್ತಿದೆನಾ?
No,
If
sir.
it is going heavy, I mean bore ಆಗ್ತಿದೆ, heavy ಆಗ್ತಿದೆ, so we'll end the session. Don't worry. I again tomorrow I have my class. I will engage my class tomorrow also. Because when I explain any concept, you people must understand it. Every student, please respond me. Students,
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
ಕಂಟಿನ್ಯೂ ಮಾಡಲ ನಾಳೆ ತಗೊಳ್ಳ?
Continue ಮಾಡಿ. Continue
ಮಾಡ್ಲಾ
ಮಾಡಿ.
ಕಂಟಿನ್ಯೂ?
ಹಾ ಸರ್.
Okay, fine. So how many of these students are there? Are 19 students are there. The remaining students, only 5 or 6 students are responding me. What about other students? Are they audible to me? Are they attentive in the class?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Sir.
So can I continue?
Okay, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. Now coming to some of, let us talk about after knowing the importance and all the strategies and all those things. Even there are some disadvantages of the impact factor. I'm not going to detail read about all the 5 points there, but we'll tell you impact factor of a journal is solely dependent on the number of citations. So it is an arithmetic mean of the citations of the previous 2 years, right? So what happens? This we cannot say that the quality of an article, quality of a journal cannot be determined by the impact factor. Sometimes what happens? Some disgusting substances are going to be published. There are some unscientific data. For example, today we'll talk that a person who was born with 3 legs, will do the photo edit and will do some again circuses and will publish it in an article. Again, it's a fake one, but because of the photo evidences, the scientific community has to accept it because no one will come from America to check whether I have a baby with having 3 legs. They will accept, they will publish it. It's a fake one, right? So tomorrow someone will come that actually it's a fake one and it's not possible. All those things will happen. So because of a wrong substance, a wrong subject, I'm going to cite it by many one. Again, the controversial statements are going to get it. What it may be a pro or a con. It may be related or it may be controversial. The citation is a citation. The reference is a reference. To defame me, to help, to say positive about me, to defame me, you have to cite me, right? So like this only, we are going to see it increasing the same impact factor. So meanwhile, the overall meaning of that is the impact factor is just an arithmetic tool to measure the impact factor of a journal. It is no way related with the quality as well as the nature of a journal. And one more thing is that impact factor, usually what happens, the research articles or original manuscript will receive less number of citations. Usually the review articles which are not been considered as the experimental results, which are not been considered as the wet lab work results, those will get more results, more citations. So what do you mean? So as per the impact factor, when you consider only the impact factor, we are supposed to write only the review articles, not the research articles. So if everyone go on writing the review articles, then who is going to do the research? Then who is going to do the original research work in the laboratory? So the impact factor is not going to distinguish between the articles or review articles, short communication, in anything. Fine. And this particular impact factor will not show the significance year on year, because it is completely varying every year. It is completely inflating every year. So today in this year, in the previous 2 years, our number of citations are more. In the today, we are going to get the number of highest impact factor. So just by seeing the impact factor of today, if I publish an article, after 2 years, if the citations of in the next 2 years are brought down, then what happens? The impact factor of a journal will come down. So your article, which have been published in the before 2 years, will be having less impact factor. Right? This is what these are the some disadvantages of the impact factor. And now this completes the first research metric, that is impact factor. And the next we have some of the so impact factor is only the important research metric, though it is having some limitation, though it is having some disadvantages, though it is having some of the advantages, whatever it may, in any research field, if you go and talk to any of the research scholar or a professor, they will ask you to publish an article which is having impact factor high. This is even my word also. Even if someone of you come and join PhD under me, I will ask you people to go and publish any article in a high impact factor journal, because it has become very natural thing. The high the impact factor, then greater the reputation in the academic society. It may be again to the deep, to the core. Again, it is having some disadvantages, some it is having some limitations, but we have to overcome all these two. High impact factor journals will accept high end research. It is the only one opinion of most of the scientists. And now coming to the second research metric, that is what site score. So site score here, there is a lot of difference in the impact factor as well as the site score. We'll show you the image what actually site score ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಏನು ಅಂತ. Even the impact factor ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಏನು ಹೆಂಗಿರ್ತದೆ ಅಂತ ತೋರಿಸ್ತೀನಿ. We'll show you the journal name, and we'll show you even this impact factor where they will be given, whether it is genuine or not. In the coming slide I'll help them. Even the site score also. Here the site score is the ratio of the citations to research published. Nothing but the ratio of citations to an article which has been published in a genuine journal. Genuine nothing but a journal which has been indexed in a scopus. The scopus andre, again the scopus just similar to that of a Web of Science. The scopus exclusively meant for the articles or the journals or the books which have been comes under the elsewhere. Scopus is a database which provides the comprehensive information of the citations, author's quality, and the research quality of the elsewhere published information or elsewhere publishing agents. So the site score is exclusively available for the books as well as for the journals which are indexed only in the scopus, nothing but which have been indexed only in the, which are nothing but with those journals or books which are related directly to the elsewhere. I think you might have heard about what you mean of elsewhere. Elsewhere ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಗೊತ್ತಲ್ಲ? Elsewhere. Do you people know? Do you people ever heard of the word elsewhere? Yeah, good. So the sites now, how we are going to calculate now site score? How the methodology kept for the calculation is that particular the calculation the site score calculation only considers the content that is typically peer reviewed. Nothing but most 99.7% of the journals in the elsewhere are peer reviewed one. Peer reviewed nothing but once you submit an articles, that particular article will be evaluated by the two expertise in that particular field, and they will suggest you some of the corrections if there are any corrections needed. If the no corrections are needed, then what is going to happen? Those two editors, pardon, those two experts will ask the editor to go for publication. So this is what the peer reviewing. So the site score is available only for those journals which are having the peer review system. Next, the site score, as already told you that the site score is mainly available for the Scopus database entries or Scopus database included articles. So usually the Scopus database included articles are those which are being comes under the journals of the elsewhere. Here, the Web of Science is the cumulative information of the citations as well as the quality of researchers of all the peer-reviewed articles. It may be elsewhere, Nature, Springer, Ville, JSTOR, anything. Just go and even the Hindu, any journal you just go and select. They are again the peer-reviewed. The Web of Science will contain the cumulative information of any number of publisher, any number of journals which have been following the peer review system. But the site score is mainly available for those which are belonging to the Scopus database. Where the site score, for the calculation of a site score, you need to go for referring the last four or a previous 4 year citation. What happens, because we already know that for the calculation of impact factor, we are going to refer the last 2 year citation as well as last 2 year publications of that particular journal. But here in the calculation of a site score, you need to go for what we call having the number of the citations of the previous 4 years, right? And here the site score, which covers all subject areas belonging to the elsewhere publication, which have been controlled, which have been indexed in the Scopus, where the impact factor is available for all the journals which have been indexed only in Science Citation Index Expanded. Like again, let me repeat that because I have not given the explanation for the SCIE, nothing but Science Citation Index Expanded. Science Citation Index Expanded, nothing but SCIE. Next, SSCI, nothing but Science Citation Index. Don't get confused, double S here. The Science, 2S stands for the Science Citation Index. Science Citation Index. That's it. Nothing but impact factor will be given for only the science, technology, as well as management, STM information, STM part, where the site score will be given for all the journals which have been, all the fields. It may be social science, arts, fine art, anything. That where the site score will be there. Is it clear, guys? Site score. Now coming to how to
Yes, sir.
calculate, that's already I have told you that the number of citations which have been received in the last 4 years divided by the total number of articles published in the previous 4. Similar to that, that is what impact factor. Impact factor to calculate, we are supposed to go for knowing the citations of the last 2 years, and for the calculation of a site score, you need to go for you need to have the citations of the last 4 years and the number of articles which have been published in that particular journal in the last 4 years. This is what with regard to the site score. Now coming to the third one, that is the SNIP, source normalized impact per paper. I think I have not given the explanation for this. I'll just make it down, note it down. Source normalized impact per paper. Again, we will repeat that. Source normalized impact per paper. What is this SNIP? Again, this is again one more research metric. SNIP, which is an attempt to correct subject specific characteristics. So what actually mean of a subject specific characteristics by SNIP, or a source normalized impact per paper? So what happens? So we already know that when you are writing an articles, we usually go for referring. Again, so around 10, 15, 20 number of articles we are referring, and at the time of writing the introduction, review, or at the time of discussion, we'll write some of the articles. What happens if the number of references what you are citing in your article are less, then SNIP will be more. If the number of articles you are referring is more, then the SNIP, the value of source normalized impact per paper, is less. You may ask, what actually mean of that high and low in SNIP? So if the number of references are more, what does it mean? Already the work related to that particular field is being carried out more in number by more persons. If the number of citations are less, then what happens? The article which is having less number of citation will be considered as the in the field in which I have published an article where the very less amount of articles, very less amount of research are being carried out. This is what the opinion. So usually what happens, if I'm doing in a plant biotechnology work, the last 10 years, the number of biotechnology work are more. Then what happens? The SNIP value will be reduced because I will start go on referring more number of articles because I'm going to get a n number of articles. So if I go and ask to write an article on a COVID, the only last 2 years we are going to see number of articles are more in COVID. The remaining 8 or 10 years back, we have not heard much about the COVID. Then what happens? The paper will be having less amount and less number of citations, less number of references. So the SNIP value will be more. So always think that to have high SNIP, you need to have an articles having less references. And if an article is having more number of references, then it has been said that the SNIP value will be less. Now you may ask, sir, actually SNIP value ಯಾಕೆ consider ಮಾಡಬೇಕು? So when it comes to the research methodology, each and every one impact factor, side score, SNIP, SJR, even JCR, RIP and not rest in peace. Again, research impact per paper and purpose. Okay, all are equally important. You will be asked at any point of a time when you come for a research. I don't know, it has not been taken into consideration in India, but when you go abroad, you may ask, now abroad, I don't know, someone will call you for the research in abroad. When you talk about exclusively research, these are very important. Now coming to the SNIP, which is being measured by the citation received against the citation expected. I think, but for example, ಈಗ COVID ಅಂತ ತಿಳ್ಕೊರಿ. If you publish an article in a COVID, the number of citations will be more. So for example, this particular vaccine ಬಗ್ಗೆ article ಬರೆದ್ರೆ ನಾವು ಅನ್ಕೋಬಹುದು ಅರೌಂಡ್ ಒಂದು ವರ್ಷದಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು 500 citations ಬರ್ತವೆ ಅನ್ಕೋಬಹುದು. So it may be an assumption. Okay, again, to assume this one, we need to have a greater vision. Assume ಬರೋಲ್ಲ, by experience only we are going to get it. So out for having the 500 number of citations, we may get either 400, we may get either 300, or we may get the 600. So the SNIP, which is going to be measured by the citations received against the citation expected for the subject field, not the journal. Got it? So in the related COVID, you can publish the articles in any of the medical journals. Not here, the SNIP is not been considered just based on the journal. It has been considered only directly based on the field of science, right? Where again, this is also based on, or this is also using the Scopus data, nothing but elsewhere related data. This SNIP similar to that of impact factor. This is also be calculated or published twice a year. Pardon, twice a year, nothing but we are going to get the SNIP value once in a 6 months, not the impact factor. Like once in a 6 months, you are going to get the SNIP value, where the SNIP which considers the citation to a specific content types. Nothing but again, as I told you, that related to the field, it may be the information which is maybe available in the form of a research article, it may be available in the form of original article, or it may be available in the form of a manuscript, or it may be available in the form of a short communication, or it may be available in the form of a protocol, or it may be available in the form of a review, or it may be available in the form of an invited article, or it may be available in the form of a conference published data, where it is generally considered the field. In any means, it may be the publication, where the non-citing sources will not be considered for the calculation of SNIP. Non-citing information, the information which have been coming in the daily newspaper, the information which have been orally communicated, the information which has not been having any head and tail. So those sources will not be considered for the calculation of SNIP. And now coming to the calculation of SNIP, how to calculate the SNIP source, normalized impact factor, here journal citations, count per paper. Nothing but, so for example, you are looking for a medical. In the medical, we are talking about anesthesia and tilkore. So in anesthesia field, how many journals are there, and how many journals, how many number of citations are available in those journals? For example, anesthesia and tilkore. Ee anesthesia nalli ಒಂದು 60 journal ಇದೆ ಅಂತ ತಿಳ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ. So these 60 journals ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಎಷ್ಟು citations ಇದಾವೆ? You have to count it divided by the citation potential in the field. what would be the expected citations in that field.